we're going.
Talk loud.
You must be talking about proximity within the camera because we don't look good otherwise.
You're on.
Good morning. Welcome to United States Sports Academy and our weekly sports talk program. Today we're going to kind of talk about the Senior Bowl, which is in Mobile, Alabama this Saturday. The best college all-star game of all the college all-star games because it's the one that has the most really good players and they have NFL coaches coaching their teams. As we promised last week, we're going to start every show with an update on the University of Connecticut women's basketball team, who last night just barely beat somebody, 100-51.
Well, it was 91-44.
Was that the score?
91-44.
91-44. The significance of this game, in addition to it being their 94th consecutive win, is they also tied a record for the most consecutive road wins in Division I basketball, men or women, at 34. And that the record that they tied, of course, was set by another University of Connecticut basketball team. Gabby Williams had a triple-double last night. It's only the fifth one in UConn history, which I thought that wouldn't surprise me, that they've only had 5. And also, since we've talked last time, Katie Lou Samuelson tied a record set by Maya Moore at UConn with 94 points in 3 consecutive games. She only scored 21 last night. She needed 29 last night to break that record. But 3 games before that, she scored 94 points to tie Maya Moore's record. So the UConn women keep just rolling along. There's probably 0 chance of them losing a conference game.
I don't see anyone.
Since they moved to the American Conference, they haven't lost a single game. The big one, which is actually pretty cool, that's number 100, is University of South Carolina, who is coached by, well, what's that lady's name? What's the coach of South Carolina? Women's?
Staley.
Don Staley, who was our Vivian Stringer Women's Coach of the Year 2 years ago. Gina Auriemma, I think Gina Auriemma was actually our coach, our male coach of the year, the same year as Don Staley was. Mm-hmm. So the 2 of our former coaches of the year will be battling in Storrs, Connecticut next in a couple weeks, and that could be UConn's 100th win in a row. The other thing we probably want to mention before we get started on the Senior Bowl is the Super Bowl. Yeah. Atlanta Falcons and New England Patriots in Super Bowl LI, as opposed to 51. And should be a shootout. I saw this morning that the over for this game is 58.5, which is the highest over/under in the 49 previous Super Bowls. They did not have an official line on Super Bowl I, which I learned today, but I was too young to bet in Super Bowl I. Anyway, but 58.5 points.
Would you have?
58.5 points is the highest number they've ever had established in Las Vegas for the over/under. I think most people are expecting a shootout. 2 great offenses, 2 defenses that have been known to give up a few points, but we'll see what happens. Dr. Brett Surmacher is with me today. I'm Steve Butler, your host. Behind the camera, kind of serving a dual role today as our producer, Sarah Weber. She's gonna talk a little bit more than usual today because Dr. Surmacher, Sarah, and myself went to Senior Bowl Media Day last night, and we got to talk to 14 players. And the first thing I wanted to say is how incredibly nice and accommodating each of the players we talked to was. It was amazing how friendly they were, how nice they were, how they answered our questions. Some of them were really good questions, some of them probably not so much, but they answered them all with a smile on their face and they're very friendly. Who of those folks we talked to last night impressed you the most, Brett?
You know, I think the receiver from Clemson, Scott, I didn't stay as long as yourself and Sarah, but of the 4 or 5 that I was there present for, he was probably the most impressive.
Octavius Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Already had his degree in communications. You could tell he felt comfortable talking in front of the cameras. Loved Dabo Sweeney, which was our last year's Alonzo's Stagg Coach of the Year award winner. And he talked about their new facility going up and how that's going to only enhance. The part where he discussed where they're a program now, and just not an afterthought by many of the players that are being recruited. because they're one of the elite programs now.
Yeah, in fact, one of the questions I asked him is, how do you think Clemson will be next year without Deshaun Watson and you? Talking to him,
Yeah,
and he said, won't miss a beat.
that's exactly what he said.
They're not one of them programs any longer that has to rebuild. They reload.
That's right.
And I think Dabo's done that at Clemson. You weren't there when we interviewed Zach Banner from the offensive lineman from USC. From a pure physical standpoint, he was definitely the most impressive. 6'9", 360 pounds, and he was just the nicest guy in the world. He was funny. He was making jokes. A lady ran by and said, "Hey," she had a big old pan of bread pudding. He goes, "I need some of that bread pudding," and she just kept walking, didn't slow down. So I went over to the table and got him 2 pieces of bread pudding and brought it back to him. He was real happy about that. But I saw last night on 10 o'clock news. They do the official weigh-in, and we've all known for years that basketball players and football players in college who want to go to the pros tend to exaggerate their statistics a little bit. They had one guy that was listed as I don't remember his name, but he was listed in the program as 265 and actually weighed 247. They talked about that. But what they did talk about was the heaviest guy was Zach Banner, and he's listed in the program as 360, and he weighed 361. So that could just mean he just ate lunch.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Just
had a piece of bread pudding.
Yeah. But he was massive, and he didn't look at all you couldn't even consider the fact that he was overweight. I think he could play at 360 easily. He was just a massive. His arms were like the size of my legs. The guy was just humongous. And then we talked to offensive lineman from UCLA. Also, his name was
Connor
Huh?
McDermott.
Yeah, Connor McDermott from UCLA, and he was just a really nice guy too. He's 6'8", and he only weighs 310. But he was a really large guy. All the guys we talked to the quarterback from Tiffin University in Ohio,
Division II school.
Antonio Pipkin, Division II school.
I was impressed with him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And one of the interesting things about him was we asked him. He's majoring in sports management, and we asked him if he knew Dr. Bonnie Teal, who is a non-resident faculty member with us at the United States Sports Academy, and he told us that Bonnie was his academic advisor.
That's right.
So that goes into the it's a small world category. We also Sarah talked to Davis Webb, the quarterback from California, who is also quite impressive.
Is he the transfer from Texas Tech? I think he played at Texas Tech for a year.
I don't know.
I believe
Well,
so.
he's in contact with the draft pick from Cal from last year.
Oh, Jared
Jared
Goff.
Goff.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they're in contact. They
Just a little
talk.
tidbit on that. I played minor league baseball with Jared Goff's father, Jerry Goff.
Wow, awesome.
He was our catcher. He was our catcher in Bellingham, Washington.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Getting back to Zach Bonner just really quickly, we were doing some research this morning and we discovered that Lincoln Kennedy, the former All-Pro, All-American offensive lineman at University of Washington and All-Pro with both the Falcons and the Raiders, is actually Zach's dad. So he's got offensive tackle in his genes.
Yes.
He really does. One of the interesting interviews he had was with Fred Ross, the wide receiver from Mississippi State. And I had heard on the radio a couple of days ago that on the Paul Feinbaum show that he thought that what Zach Prescott did, who by the way was the most valuable player of last year's Senior Bowl, what he did in Dallas this year, Paul Feinbaum said he thought had really helped recruiting at Mississippi State this year. And I asked Fred Ross, the wide receiver, about that. And he agreed 100%. He said definitely, having Zach's name out there, and every time they talk about it, they say Zach Prescott from Mississippi State University. He was a 4th-round draft pick. So that just goes to show that it's not always the first-round draft picks that have the biggest impression. But then I can't remember the kid's name, but the kid that's playing quarterback for them now is really, really good too. And
He said his name, but
I don't remember. They'll have him for 3 more years because he was a true freshman. Sarah was able to talk to Josh Dobbs, the quarterback from Tennessee. One of the most impressive things about him is he's another one that's already graduated with a degree.
yeah, several of the ones that we spoke to, Amaza, the long snapper from Alabama had already graduated. The kid from Tiffin had already graduated. Scott from Clemson. So I think that's one thing that is paying off for college athletics is all the academic departments within athletics that are seeing to it that these young men come out with a degree and have something going for them in life after their sport.
Yeah, I know I've said this on the show before, but I think it's worth repeating. As educators, this is one of our favorite stats about Dabo Sweeney.
Yeah.
Of 108 players who have stayed 4 years at Clemson, 102 of them have graduated.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks a lot about him and the program and the support they get from the school. I think what's helping a lot is kids actually graduate from high school early now
Mm-hmm.
and enroll in colleges in January.
Right.
And by doing that, they're able to attend spring practice, and then they still have their 4 actual football seasons.
Right.
So a lot of them are getting finished. And I think there's one of my students is doing her dissertation right now, and she talks a lot about the concept of the dumb jock.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the kids that we talked to last night are proof that that doesn't exist anymore.
No.
You gotta be able to do it both academically and athletically to be really successful.
Well, most people would be surprised to know that Alabama graduates quite a bit.
Yeah.
And they have graduate students on the roster.
Yeah.
Sarah got to talk to O.J. Howard, the tight end from Alabama, who's
Seems well grounded.
yeah, seemed like a really nice kid, and he's number 17 on Mel Kiper's big board. Interestingly enough, I looked at Mel Kiper's big board this morning. Only 3 of the 32 names on that list are at the Senior Bowl. But that's a little bit misleading because 24 of the 32 names on that list have a little asterisk next to them that says non-senior draft eligible non-senior. So you have to be a senior or have graduated to come to the Senior Bowl. But if you played 3 years, you could be drafted. So a lot of underclassmen will be drafted, and the rest of them we'll see what happens. A lot of people in the past have really shot up the board based on their performance during Senior Bowl week. And it's kind of interesting because a lot of the coaches don't even hang around for the game. The coaches and the general manager and the scouts, they can see more in practice, where you can watch an offensive lineman like Zach Banner try to block a defensive end like Terrell Basham from Ohio, who we also interviewed last night. You can watch them for 30 plays in a row.
Yeah.
That just one-on-one with
And
each other.
another thing that they do is, not only can the GMs and the coaches come down and see these guys, but it's on the NFL Network, so
Right.
they can have people back in the offices watching it live.
Yeah,
That's
even
right.
practice is
Yeah.
on the NFL
Yeah.
Network.
But
And they're being coached by pros too.
Right.
The coaching staffs of the Chicago Bears has the North, and the coaching staff of the Cleveland Browns has the South.
yeah, we recorded some sound bites from John Fox. And what was interesting was Zach also said that they're used to having a lot of scouts at USC, but he hadn't seen anything like yesterday's practice. He said that was like 700.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, he said I
scouts.
don't want to brag or anything. I want to kind of sound with a little humility, because we really have a lot of scouts at every practice at USC just because of the number. I'm sure it's the same in Alabama.
Sure.
Or Texas. Well, Texas maybe not so much the last couple of years, but all the big schools. But he said at USC there's scouts there every day at practice. But yeah, like Sarah said, the magnitude of it on yesterday's practice was mind-boggling, even to
Well, and
him.
it'll be like that today and tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and then a lot of those guys will head out of town and start comparing notes here over the next several weeks.
And then the fans will get their chance on Friday night,
Right.
Friday afternoon,
3 to 6
evening,
or something.
3:30 to 6 in
Yeah,
Mobile
those of you
Convention
who are
Center.
in the Mobile, Alabama area, it's free to the public. You can go in and stand in line. You can stand in line for an hour and get O.J. Howard's autograph, or you can probably stand in line for 3 minutes and get Trip Taylor's autograph. It's just-
Coca-Cola meet the players, and then it's also tied into the Senior Bowl experience
yeah,
for the fans.
it's a great thing for especially for the kids. The kids just light up when they see those Auburn players.
Is there a parade too, or is that?
No, because
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
not into the parade yet for
Okay.
Mardi Gras. Last year, Mardi Gras was the same week.
Another player that Sarah and I interviewed after you left, Brett, was Sefo Lafu.
Yeah.
No.
quarterback.
The quarterback from Lufau, the quarterback from Colorado. He was really cool, and it was interesting because he he was one of the few players that talked about how awesome other schools were. He really talked a lot about good things about the Pac-12 conference. And I'm a Pac-12 fan. The only one of the problems we have here, and I think one of the
Don't get to
problems.
see them.
Yeah, or if you do get to
It's
see it,
late.
you got to stay up till 3:00 in the morning
That's right.
to watch the whole game. But he was really cool. Talked a lot about their coach and what a great job he did. Vince Beagle, the outside linebacker from Wisconsin, he was really good. We didn't actually interview him on film, but we Sarah and I walked out with Dan Feeney, the rather small offensive guard from the University of Indiana, who's 6'4", 310, and he's on the draft list. He's on one of the draft lists I saw in the first round,
Yeah.
like 23, 24, somewhere around there. And then, of course, we got to talk to Terrell Basham, the defensive end from Ohio U, who was just here last month for the
Dollar
Dollar General Bowl. I almost called it the GoDaddy Bowl. Did you see the guy from the new coach from the San Diego Chargers? When they introduced him, he got up there. He says, "I'm so glad, so proud and honored to be the new coach of the Los Angeles Chargers." And what was really nice was the ESPN guy, and this is so true. The ESPN guy said, "Look, I'm not going to say anything about him making that mistake because I'm probably going to make it 30 times next year." Because they've been the San Diego Chargers for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, it's kind of
being a
like
football fan.
when it changes to a new year, you're right, 2016
Yeah.
instead of 2017.
We, like I said, we got to talk to 14 players last night total, 9 from the south and 5 from the north. The tapes of those interviews will be available in the next few days on our website. There'll be a link to them, and on our YouTube. If you go to YouTube and type in United States Sports Academy. Again, I want to thank all those players. They were awesome. They were so nice, so friendly. We just wanted to finish this up with some fun facts about the Senior Bowl. Right now, at the end of the current football season, there are over 500 former Senior Bowl players on NFL rosters. If you multiply 53 players times 32 teams, it's around a little bit less than 1,700. So basically, almost a third of the players on NFL rosters are former Senior Bowl players. There are 23 former Senior Bowl players in this year's Pro Bowl. There are 17 former Senior Bowl players in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and that number will certainly go up because a lot of the Senior Bowl players are still playing, obviously, with 500 of them, and some of them will most likely turn out to be Hall of Famers. Last year, there were 87 players drafted who played in the Senior Bowl, 4 in the first round. The first rounders were Carson Wentz, Sheldon Rankins, Josh Garnett, and Vernon Butler. And then we went back to 2006 because that was the Senior Bowl record. In 2006, there were 16 players who played in the Super Bowl drafted in the first round. And the thing that really is fascinating about this list to me, and Brett and I talked about it, and Sarah and I talked about it, is we're all big football fans. And there's some names on here I don't have any idea who they are. And that was only 10 years ago that they were first-round draft picks. Some of them obviously have done well in the pros, but some of them have not. The list includes DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Jay Cutler, Cameron Wembley, Broderick Bunkley, Ty Hill, Chad Greenway, Tamba Hali, Manny Lawson, Davin Joseph, D'Angelo Williams, Mercedes Lewis, Nick Mangold, Joseph Adai, Kelly Jennings, and Matthias Kiwanuka. So I think this is a good illustration of what a crapshoot and what a gamble it still is in the NFL draft.
Sure.
Even after this, 700 scouts and coaches and GMs there at Senior Bowl practice yesterday, all the analytics they have, all the computer stuff they go through, and they can,
Interviews.
In Indianapolis, they'll be giving them all kinds of tests, the Wonderlic test and all the personal interviews. They'll measure them and probe them and do everything, and they still make mistakes.
Yes.
Because literally 10 years ago, there's 4 names on this list. I have no idea who they are. And you would think first-round draft picks would kind of be a lock, but we've seen in the past that's not quite the case. The last thing I wanted to mention was a couple years ago they did a fan voting for the all-time Senior Bowl team, and I won't read all the names, but just throw a few of them out there. The quarterback was Joe Namath. The running backs were Walter Payton, Bo Jackson, and Franco Harris. Lynn Swann and Art Monk among the wide receivers. Gene Upshaw, Mike Webster among the offensive linemen. Mean Joe Green, Tootal Jones, and Bubba Smith among the defensive linemen. Derek Thomas and Ted Hendricks among the linebackers. And then Dale Carter, Albert Lewis, and Roger Worley among the DBs.
I'd like to coach one of those teams.
I think that team could probably beat the Cleveland Browns. And most of those guys are in their 60s.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just kidding. The Cleveland Browns would probably beat them.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. I saw on the latest poll, latest draft board, that they had the Browns selecting Deshaun Watson number 1 overall instead of.
Did you hear read what Dabo said about that?
No.
It'd be like passing up on Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we know 2 teams did that. 'Cause
Yeah.
he was the 3rd pick. The Senior Bowl is this Saturday. I believe it's 1:30 Central Time is kickoff. You got the thing that is scheduled, Sarah.
Yeah, on the NFL Network.
It's on the NFL Network. So if you have the TV provider that I do, you will be able to watch it. So I'm gonna be there anyway. So
There are practices today and tomorrow that's open to the public at the stadium.
yeah, that People Stadium. If you're in the area, you can go watch them practice.
12:15 to 2:15 is the north, and 3 to 5 is the south. And then the fan stuff on
Fan thing
Friday.
at the Convention Center on Friday afternoon. Starts at 3.
Yeah.
Senior Bowl is a great experience. When I was stationed at Maxwell Air Force Base in the mid-90s, I used to come up there for one day and practice. It was a pretty cool experience for all the young airmen and the kids at Maxwell Air Force Base. Anyway, no pro football this weekend. 2 weeks to prepare for the Super Bowl, which will be on the 5th of February, next Sunday. So
Well, Saturday was supposed to be the college basketball game of the year, but that kind of got shot down last night with Kentucky and Kansas
both lost.
losing.
I saw one stat on TV this morning. There's been like 1,385 days in college basketball history where the top 4 teams all played at the same time, and this was only the 2nd day that 3 of the 4 teams lost.
Wow.
And all those opportunities for that to happen. Yeah, Kansas lost.
Villanova.
Kentucky lost, and Villanova lost. So Kentucky lost to Tennessee, and Villanova lost to Marquette. I don't remember who Kansas lost to.
Kansas got beat by West Virginia.
Yeah, that's right. West Virginia joined a list of a very small list of teams to have beaten 2 number 1 teams in the same season.
Baylor
and
Kansas.
Kansas. Anyway, we hope everybody has a great week of sports. Enjoy the Senior Bowl. It's the only football we got this week, but it should be a great game. Last year was a fun game with Dak Prescott winning the MVP, and then we all saw what he did this year with the Dallas Cowboys. It'll be interesting to see where Tony Romo ends up next year.
We'll have some footage up on YouTube next week.
And Dak Prescott could be the Rookie of the Year in the NFL. If he's not, it'll probably be his teammate Ezekiel Elliott.
That's right.
So one of the 2 guys will probably win it unless they split the vote and somebody else sneaks in from an outside. Again, our thanks to the Senior Bowl for letting us participate in the media day. Thanks to all the players who were wonderful in their interviews, and we'll get those up for you to be able to watch the interviews on our YouTube page and our website in the next few days. Everybody have a great week in sports, and we'll see you next Wednesday morning at 11:30 a.m. Central Time from the beautiful campus of the United States Sports Academy in Daphne, Alabama.